So I want you to imagine that you have an entire year to spend on bringing something you desire forward. You'd have the support, the encouragement, the accountability, the shoulder to cry on, pretty much everything you need to guarantee your success. What would you choose? Well, I had this opportunity back in 2008 in my master's program, and I chose acting. That's what I was doing with my life at the time. I'd had success in New York, and I moved to LA, where my big dream was to be a series regular on a TV show. See, if I had that, then that meant I was good enough. That meant I'd made it, that I was successful, right? So for my year-long project, I decided I was going to write and star in my own film. And after living with that for about 2 months, I hit a breaking point. I realized that as much as I yearned for success in my acting career, there was something else that I wanted even more. The one area of my life that always held me back, that was the reason for every failure, the dumping ground for everything wrong in my life, was how I felt about my body. If I went to an audition and didn't book the job, it was because I was too fat. And if I went out on a date with a guy and he didn't like me, I liked him and he didn't like me back, it was because I was too fat. Too fat was always the excuse waiting for me at every turn. So I was in constant pursuit, daily pursuit of the magic pill, the thing that would fix my body, the thing that would make it perfect so that I could have everything I ever wanted. And I lived in that torturous cycle for 20 plus years. So as I sat with my project team on the phone with tears streaming down my face saying, it's not acting. The one thing I never thought possible is to love the body I've been given. I want to see if I can love her at the size and shape she wants to be. And this was huge. I'd never in a bazillion years considered that I could actually accept the body I was given. It wasn't about changing her. It was about embracing her. And that decision changed my life forever. Turns out I am no longer pursuing acting, and what I do now is work with women on celebrating the body they've been given. And it is incredibly fulfilling work. Little did I know that falling in love with the thing that I loathed would bring me everything I ever wanted. And that is the paradox of desire. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I think there are two types of desires, ego-based desires and ego-less desires. So ego-based desires are driven by the ego. They involve some type of external validation and approval, right? They stem from a place of not being good enough, of needing to be fixed. It's the when-thens, right? So when I lose 10 pounds, then I'll be good enough. When I'm a series regular on a TV show, then I'll be good enough. Right? Those are examples of ego-based desires. And there's nothing wrong with them, right? We as humans have an ego, so why not allow it to assist us in living the best that life has to offer? I'm suggesting today that the way we've been programmed to reach those desires is a little bit backwards. What if instead of starting out, we started in? Thus, ego-less desires. Ego-less desires are internal, right? They're self-reliant. They don't require external validation and approval because they get internal validation and approval. They start from a place of wholeness because they happen within us, inside of our container. Examples of ego-less desires are loving the body you have, having more freedom, experiencing more joy. All of those are available today, right now. They're not dependent on your external circumstances, even though the world that we live in likes to tell us the opposite, but that's not true. So I have a little demonstration for how these play out. All right, so behind me on this beautiful screen, you see a pink line with a dip and then another line. And you see a little stick figure dude, right? Well, that stick figure dude represents us. You'll also see inside the dip, fear, guilt, shame. That represents the obstacle, which, by the way, is also us. And then on the other side of the line is the goal. So this is the model we're going to be using for both demonstrations. We're going to start with ego-based desires, and the one we're going to work with today is lose 10 pounds. So if you wanted to lose 10 pounds, the first thing you would do is probably start a diet or exercise program where someone else has put together the plan for you. You know exactly what the next step is. You're super motivated, so what do? You take off running towards your goal. As you're running, you see that the first obstacle is coming up. It's your fear, and you don't even want to admit that it's there, right? You deny its existence. So when you get to the break in the path, you jump, praying that you make it to the other side. Only when you're in midair do you realize, I'm not going to make it. And that is the first time that you look towards your fears. In that moment, because you have ignored them for so long, they seem enormous and turn into hungry, man-eating sharks. What happens next? You fall in, they swallow you up, spit you back out right where you started, leaving you feeling like a big failure. So this cycle continues until you try something different, like the ego-less desire. So for this example, for the ego-less desire, we're going to use love your body. So the first thing you'll see is that the path isn't as clear. What do? I don't know. Because ego-less desires are self-determined. You figure out the plan. You put it in motion. So you start off walking instead of running, right? It starts a little bit more slowly moving forward. And you're not sure of every step, but you continue to move forward trying whatever's going to work for you. And then pretty soon, before long, you get to the break in the path. You get to the obstacle, right? You are calm, you look across, you see that the path picks up over across the dip. You look down, you see some man-eating sharks staring up at you. Almost every part of your being is screaming, jump! But you've done that before and it hasn't really worked out well. So the only choice you have left is to muster up all the courage you can and walk forward towards the sharks, towards your fears. The instant that you do that, right? You're afraid, but you keep moving forward. The instant that you do that, those hungry, terrifying, man-eating sharks turn to lovable puppies. Okay, maybe they don't really turn into lovable puppies. But what if your fear, your judgment, your shame, your guilt, what if they turned into the love represented by those sweet puppies? That's what I'm talking about. See, what happens when we start to walk towards our fears, we're willing to see them for what they are, right? We're willing to sit with them, to explore them, to examine them, to forgive ourselves for any misbeliefs, to let go of any judgments, to heal any memories. And when we do that, every single judgment, every single fear transforms into a little bubble of love. And before you know it, those little bubbles of love carry you to the top, creating a bridge for you to walk across so that you can reach your goal. That's what's possible with ego-less desires. You can hear from what I'm saying that love is the key ingredient. It's also the result of an ego-less desire. And when that is at your core, when love is at your core, your worth is no longer dependent upon external circumstances. So you release the need to have the ego-based desire, which also tends to draw it to you in a much easier way. Both ego-less desires and ego-based desires are important. We need both. I'm merely suggesting that we spend a little bit more time on the ego-less kind. And to sum up, I think our desires show us two things: what we want and where we need the most healing. Thank you. Thank you.